Hi, my name is Bibek Adhikari. I am your English instructor. In today's class, we are going to solve the grammar portion of Unit 14, that is simple past and past continuous tense. So, let's begin. So, we're now going to study about simple past and past continuous tenses. Let's study a paragraph first. Ramesh had 4 sons. They were lazy but robust and healthy. They did not use to do anything. They used to wander around the village. One day, in the spring, while Ramesh was sitting under the shadow of a guava tree, he decided to make his lazy sons active. He called them to sit around and said, "My sons, I have buried a great treasure in the vineyard. Go and look for it." As soon as he said that, they took a spade and started digging. They couldn't find any treasure there. "Where did you bury the treasure? We almost dug the yard but couldn't find it," they asked desperately. "Wasn't there any sign of treasure? Did you dig all the corner of the vineyard?" he asked. "Yes, we did, but the treasure was nowhere to be found," they said. "Oh, how sad it is that you don't know the earth that you dug is a treasure in itself," cried the old man. Now, can you find out the simple past tense? First, let's find out the simple past tense. Ramesh had 4 sons. They were lazy. They did not use to do anything. They used to wander around the village. Used to wander. One day in the spring. No, this is past continuous. Let's only find the past tense, simple past tense first. He decided to. He called them and said, buried. Now, buried is a simple past tense, but here the structure is have buried. So, since we have buried, buried is not a simple past tense. Let's find some other simple past tense. Go and look are not simple past tense, they are present tense. Said is a simple past tense. Took and started is simple past tense. Couldn't is also simple past tense. Couldn't plus V1. Did is simple past tense. Dug is another simple past tense. Asked is simple past. Wasn't, did, asked, did, was, said, dug, cried. So these are all simple past tense. Now let's find out some past continuous tense. Was sitting under. So this is past continuous tense. He was sitting under somewhere. Right? Digging could also be past continuous, but here it is not the past continuous tense. I think that's it. We don't have any more past continuous tense, do we? Well, let's study about simple past tense and past continuous tense in detail. The simple past tense is used to describe finished actions or events with a past time reference. The simple past tense is also used to talk about past facts or generalizations which are no longer true. Let us start by learning the uses of simple past tense. If we learn the uses of simple past tense, we can easily use the simple past tense while we are making sentences, while we are speaking or writing, so that way it would be easier. Rather than just listing out the formula and writing something like subject plus V2 plus object, so that way you would only remember the formula. So let's go start by learning the uses, and if you need formula, I'll also write the formula in the end. So the first 2 basic uses of simple past tense are: it is used to describe finished actions or events with a past time reference. For example, last year I went to Nagarkot. Let's look at another example. Long ago there lived a king. So these are 2 basic, the simplest form of examples. We have a time reference, last year and long ago. So these are finished actions or events. Last year I went to Nagarkot. What that means is you went to Nagarkot not this year but last year. So that is finished action with a past reference. Long ago there lived a king. Now the king is no more. Maybe he's dead. maybe he is, overthrown by people. So long ago there lived a king. Let's look at another use. The simple past tense is also used to describe about past facts or generalizations which are no longer true. So we are talking about past facts or generalizations and now they are no longer true. For example, I studied Sanskrit when I was a kid. In this portion, we are talking about past facts or generalizations which are no longer true. I studied Sanskrit. I study Sanskrit or whatever. I studied Sanskrit when I was a kid. What that means is I used to study Sanskrit when I was a kid. Now I am a fully mature young person and I no longer study Sanskrit. So this is about past facts or generalizations. You can also say something like, I worked at the restaurant after school, but now I don't. I used to play guitar when I was a kid. Or you can also say, when I was a child, I used to live a very, happy life, which means now I am miserably sad. All right. Let's look at some more uses. The simple past tense is also used to describe a series of completed actions in the past. The simple past tense is also used to describe duration of any completed action which starts and stops in the past. Very good. Let us write some examples. So it is used to describe a series of completed actions in the past. For example, last night I wrote a letter, put it in an envelope. So this is just an example. In this sentence, I am trying to describe a series of completed actions. So a long series of actions that are already completed. Something like, last night I wrote a letter. The first action is writing a letter. I put it in an envelope, put stamp on it, and posted it this morning. So one event after another event followed by another event. You can say something like, I got off at the bus stop, called my friend, and went with her to the hotel. So what that means is you're describing a series of completed actions. There's a special phrase for these sentences and they are called parallel sentences. So while you are writing parallel sentences, make sure you use all the correct tenses. So we have all the V2 form. That is the second form of verb. Now let's look at another use. The simple past tense is also used to describe about duration of any completed action. So duration of any completed action which starts and stops in the past. Something that started in the past and stopped in the past. What that means is it has no relation to right now. For example, so this is just a basic example. Anjali and I talked on the phone for 30 minutes. What that means is we talked on the phone for 30 minutes. Something started in the past and stopped in the past. It has no relation to right now, this now moment. Another example could be, I lived in Kathmandu for 6 years and then moved to Pokhara. What that means is you lived in Kathmandu for 6 years. Something started in the past and stopped in the past. Then you moved to Pokhara. So something started in the past and stopped in the past. Now let us go to another form of past tense, which is past continuous tense. Let us start by learning some of the basic uses. The first one is, and the second one is, so these are the first two uses. Let's start with the first one. The past continuous tense is used to describe what was happening at a particular time in the past. So something that was happening in the particular time in the past, we describe that by using the past continuous tense. For example, yesterday at this time, I was playing. What that means is, at this time, right, this time, but yesterday, I was playing. So something was going on, something was happening at a particular time in the past. You can also say that this time yesterday I was reading a book. You can also say the last week we were visiting Pokhara. This time last week we were visiting Pokhara. You can say something like, we were watching TV at 3 o'clock yesterday. So what were you doing at 3 o'clock yesterday? We were watching TV, something that was happening at a particular time in the past. Now let's look at the second use. It is also used to describe things and give background information to an event in the past. For example, when I got home, my mother was cooking. So when I got home, it is in V2, my mother was cooking. So we have be verb followed by a fourth form of verb, that is present participle. Correct? So when I got home, when I was finally back home, my mother was cooking. So the use is to describe some background information to an event in the past. You can also say something like, I was eating dinner when there was a knock on the door, or I was teaching to my class when suddenly there came a bang on the door, right? The man was sitting on the bench, he was wearing a blue suit, and he was reading a paper and eating biscuits. So this is about describing some event that was going on in the past by giving some background information. Let's look at some more uses. Here we have two more uses. It is also used to describe the interrupted actions in the past. Something happened but it was interrupted. So past continuous tense is also used to describe interrupted actions in the past. For example, first one is I was watching TV when my mother called. So something was happening in the past, suddenly it was followed by another event. So we have B plus V4 here, followed by a V2. This is what we call interrupted action in the past. You were doing something, but suddenly you got interrupted. What that means is, in this sentence, this example, you were watching TV and suddenly your mother called. Let's look at another example. When I was reading a book, the phone rang. Same as the first one. You were reading a book and suddenly the phone rang. So your reading was interrupted, right? That's why we call it interrupted actions in the past. The final use of past continuous tense is to describe two actions in the same time. So we have two actions, also known as parallel actions, and they are happening in more or less the same time. For example, I wasn't paying enough attention when the teacher was teaching, right? The first basic example. I wasn't paying enough attention when the teacher was teaching. So something was going on in the past and another thing was also going on in the past, and they happened more or less in the same time. I wasn't paying enough attention and the teacher was teaching. While the teacher was teaching, I was not paying enough attention. Or I wasn't paying enough attention when the teacher was teaching. So you're not paying enough attention and the teacher teaching. So these two actions were parallel. That's why we call it two actions in the same time or parallel actions. So past continuous tense is also used to describe two actions in the same time. Now can you can you find out the grammar structure of the simple past tense and past continuous tense from the examples that I just demonstrated? I think you can, because the simple structure of simple past tense is, well, let's write it together. Simple past tense and past continuous tense. So we have two tenses. First one is simple past tense and the second one is called past continuous tense. Let us find out these structures. What is the structure of simple past tense? I walked to the store. I talked a lot. So what is the structure? It is subject plus V2 plus object. Very nice. In negative, it is subject plus did not plus V1 plus object. So I did not go to the store. I did not talk to her, like that. In question form, it could be did plus subject plus V1 plus object. Something like, did you talk to her? Did you go to the store? Alright. Now let's find out some of the structures of past continuous tense. Give me an example of past continuous tense. I was going to the store at this time yesterday. So what is the structure? Subject plus was, were plus V4 plus object. So in negative form, subject plus was, were plus not plus V4 plus object. Like, I was going to the candy store. I was not going to the candy store. Were you going to the candy store? Where were you going? Alright, these are the structures, some simple basic structures of past tense. Did you notice that past tense could be formed by simply adding the word ed in the end? You can say something like I walk to the store. Let's not write store, let's write moon. I walk to the moon. So this is something that you normally do. You always walk to the moon. But if you were to say something in the past, same thing in the past tense, how would you say? You'd probably say something like I walked to the moon. So you go there often to the moon. You moonwalk on the surface. So you are very good at moonwalking. I walked to the moon. That is in past tense. So how would you say the same thing in the past continuous tense? I was walking to the moon. This time yesterday, same time yesterday, I was walking to the moon. Correct? With that, we have come to the end of today's class. Now I'm going to give you some homework as usual. Your first homework is to complete the following sentences. So these are your homeworks. You have 4 sentences and you need to fill in the blanks. The first one is we dash the game yesterday. We blank space the game yesterday. Lose. So what is the answer? We were losing the game yesterday, or is it we lost the game yesterday? I don't know. Find out yourself. Another homework question is last night I dash blank space a new soap opera in the TV. So I watched or was watching. Another example is for the continuous action or called parallel sentences. My son dash when I left for work this morning. So was he sleeping or did he sleep? Find out the answer. The last one is when I was a kid I blank space football. So I was playing football, I played football, I used to play football, I don't know. Find the answer. Very easy questions these are. With this, we have come to the end of today's class. If you have any questions or suggestions regarding this video series, feel free to write us at learning@dearwalk.edu.np. Thank you.